Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Chief Outsider's CEO Growth Talks. Thrilled that you're here with us today. Welcome. And welcome to our special guest, Ingrid Christensen. Thank you so much, Ingrid, CEO of INGCO, INGCO, right? INGCO, and that's how you say it, right?
That's how you say it. You got it.
And you've been in this business for a while. Tell us how long. Tell us where the name of the company came from and how you got
Ooh,
involved.
ooh, that's a thriller. That's a thriller. So, if one would notice that my first name is Ingrid, you could just take Ing the rid off Ing, and then you get Ingco, which is short for Ingrid's company. So, yep, pretty creative. I was in a moment of panic, and I needed a business name, and that's what I got. So
It,
that's a longer story, but
Well, it works. It works, and that's great. And we're going to talk about a book that you've written really
yeah.
recently,
Yeah.
considering because you've been in the business, what, 18 years now?
Yes, I started the company 18 years ago. I've been in the industry about 25, and I just published my first book about a year ago.
Okay, and that industry, everybody is like translation services and such,
Yes, yes.
and
We're in the language service industry. So larger than the global music industry. It's oftentimes called the largest industry you've never heard of. But yes, we provide document translation, spoken interpreting, voiceovers, subtitling, et cetera, in about 200 different language pairs.
okay, and we're going to talk about her book, The Language of Trust, and
Yes.
there's no pun in there. It's very intentional. But what stuns me about learning about your company is how really broad your services are, how extensive. I mean, dozens of countries, hundreds of languages. Can you give us an idea of the scope of the kind of services you're providing?
Yeah, yeah. So we have two pillars to our target market. We work with corporate organizations solving their corporate language needs, and that's either because they sell a product or service to a global marketplace, and so they need to make sure that their customers can buy their products or services, or they employ or serve a multilingual market. So a lot of organizations, manufacturing, agriculture, really a lot of it, restaurants, food industry, a lot of different industries employ a heavy level of multilingual employees. So making sure that their employees understand instructions and are able to perform their work duties. And on the flip side, we work with community serving organizations as well. So think school districts, adjacent services that serve educational facilities, social services, nonprofits, a handful of government work in the mix. So cities, municipalities, states, federal government, NGOs, things of that nature.
And broadly across the globe.
Across the globe. Yep, across the globe. So we serve about 200 different language pairs every year. There's probably the top 15 that are the most common, but when we look at all the languages we do every year, it's consistently about 200 different languages. And my team on my accountability chart, our full-time employees, we're actually in 7 different countries. So we're pretty spread out.
Now I think our CEO listeners and viewers would be interested in this because you've kind of got the virtual thing going on, and perhaps long before it was a thing. So you've got a pretty tight group of team. What is it? A dozen, 17 people?
Yeah, we're about 14 people right now.
Okay. But then you have how many? A couple of thousand?
Yeah, so all of so we work with about 2,000 independent contractor linguists a year. So the linguists are the language experts that are actually doing the translation and interpreting. My staff is doing project management, sales, operations, making the business go, if you will.
So I think a lot of people, I'd love to just hear, because what you've shared with me previously, these folks are vetted. I mean, this isn't just a bunch of people that happen to have a correct resume. They're vetted. You know exactly what you're going to have, the kind of value and service they'll be able to provide, and they're all over the world, and yet they're essentially virtual. They're contractors, as you mentioned. How did you go about putting together such an incredible workforce?
Well, one person at a time. I started the company myself as a Spanish interpreter, and I was getting more work than I could handle. So I started contracting colleagues. Is really how the business started, and then I decided I should make it a little bit more official and try to turn it into a company. And so my network just started growing, and I started, getting to know different linguists and different languages and different areas, different skill sets. And from there, it just started growing. So, kind of the secret sauce is where we pair our linguist to a particular project. And there's lots of different parameters with a project. It's not just the language pair. It's not just English to Spanish. There's 25 different dialects of Spanish. So we need to know exactly what kind of Spanish. We need to know what level of expertise. Are you looking for somebody with advertising and marketing experience? Are you looking for somebody with med tech device experience? Are you looking for somebody that's, I don't know, an astronomer? All across the board. So really the language pair is kind of the first match, if you will. Then it's that subject matter expertise. And then sometimes we take into account geographic locations, right? So where people physically are located can sometimes help narrow down the search. And more common are people's experience level and comfort with different forms of technology. So that's becoming more important to us as well.
Wow. Well, congratulations on building such an impressive company, and ahead of your time, I think, in many respects. I want to go back to in the book. Initially, you tell this really interesting story of how you got started, and it puts you in a situation that I think rolls. Reason it's in the book is it rolls forward all the way to the
Yeah.
message, the core message in your book. Can you kind of tell us that story?
Yes, yes. So I had found myself into working for a local interpreting agency in Minneapolis, and they performed mostly healthcare interpreting. And I was sent to Children's Hospital to interpret, and it was my very first assignment. I had no idea what I was doing, right? I was nervous, I was sweating, my knees were shaking. I walked into this exam room, and there's this beautiful baby girl crying in the arms of her very worried parents. They were bewildered. They had no idea what was going on. The doctor was bewildered. She had no idea what was going on. And the minute I started interpreting, something just clicked for me. And I knew at that moment that I had found a calling, a career that I never even knew existed. And from that very moment, I knew how important trust was in absolutely everything that I was going to do with my career. And so I've really focused on this concept of trust and trust building and how important trust is to relationships, which then led me
Now
to
back
working.
back up a little bit. I mean, you
Yeah.
kind of went over that very fast, but so you started speaking in the language that this couple was going to understand, and
Mhm.
everything changed. What is that? What
It
is
was like immediately their faces had a sense of calm and understanding and comfort. And of course, only thing that they were worried about was their baby, right? If those of you who are parents that are listening, you know that at that moment nothing else matters than the well-being of your child. And that's all that they cared about. And so the minute that I was able to be that voice, that I was able to be that bridge of communication between the family and the physician, it was like it was just this miracle moment, and it still gives me goosebumps. I'm still in awe by the work that we do. To be a voice to somebody who would otherwise be voiceless is an incredible honor. It's an incredible gift and an incredible privilege.
wow. Now, so then the book further develops this whole notion of how important language is, and not just translated language, but language itself is in building trust. Can you take us a little bit on that journey without giving it all away?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So one of the underlying themes is the importance of communication and how important communication is to building trust, maintaining trust, and repairing trust once it's broken. Because eventually, at some point, all of us are going to have something happen to us or around us, in our lives that causes us to lose trust in someone else or in ourselves. So it really talks about the communication foundations that can help support trust building and the maintenance of trust. And it does go beyond multilingual communication. Certainly, that's a huge part of it because that's what my career has been focused on for the last 25 years. But it also talks a lot about um, me leaning into a leader, right? When I started the company, it was me doing the work. I wasn't leading anybody. So I had to learn how to lead and I had to learn how to um, help people along this trusting journey and get them to trust me so they would say yes to their job offer and show up for work. And I had to get clients to trust us along the way so they would hire us. And everything that I have done in this business it comes back to trust.
And there are a lot of books written on trust, but I don't know of one that's gone down this avenue. And yet it might seem kind of narrow to your world, but it's not. I mean, the people that are, I mean, when you look at the Amazon reviews, they're kind of ridiculous. There's broad, there's broad, um, accolades for this message. It seems to be very fresh. Why do you think that is?
I think people we've gone through a lot of turmoil and a lot of challenging times over the last, well, forever, right? But recently in the last 5 years is fresh on everyone's mind. And I think people are looking for ways to feel comfortable and feel like they can trust the world around them. I think, well, based on my research and my experience, I believe that humans are natural born trusters. I think it's within our nature to trust, and I think it goes against our nature when we're not able to trust ourselves and others. So I think people really want to find a way towards a trusting relationship.
Yeah. And it's powerful that your book recognizes that trust can be broken and it needs to be rebuilt and that you take that on as well. When you think about whether it's the last 5 years, and I hate to everything point back to this challenging period we've had, but over those 18 years of running your business, what have been the greatest challenges, or what's the greatest challenge if you want to start with that one? And if it happens to be the COVID era, we'll go find another one too. But
No, I mean, COVID was terrible, of course, for a plethora of reasons. But for our business, we actually thrived. So that's a whole different that's a whole different conversation. We had our best performing year, and we were working 15 hours, 16, 18 hours a day. It was crazy. Everybody needed every message translated and all the time. So, but that's for a different conversation. I would say that as my journey has evolved, the skills that I needed to have evolved. And that has been challenging in a way to recognize what skills I needed to develop and take the time to develop them. So I would say that my biggest challenge has really been about me and me getting out of the way and me trusting myself to delegate tasks to my team and hiring a really smart team. Um, but I point to myself. The hardest lessons and the biggest challenges have been my own internal struggles.
okay, and I happen to know that this book project, which is just the book's just not that old, less than a couple of years, that journey itself was a trust journey, especially just the way you described in terms of your relationship with your team. Can you tell us what you went through?
Yeah, absolutely. So it could not have happened at a better time, and I don't think that I planned for it to happen at this time. But my team desperately needed me to get the heck out of the way. As a CEO founder, right? I'm so intrinsically tied in every way to the business, and I needed to figure out a way just to get out of the way. And the act of writing the book, of having to spend 20 hours a week on this on this endeavor, forced me to get out of the way. and allowed my team to flourish and allowed them to do what they do best. And the company was very successful in that time. I was still connected, but to be forced to be gone 20 hours a week is, half of my time. And so I had to learn how to trust the team that they would continue the journey. And I also, Pete, we talked about this a little bit, but I'm like a lot of business owners, and I like to start things, and I don't always necessarily like to finish them. And I wanted to break that pattern, and I wanted to prove to myself that I would finish what I started in this book. So when I publicly announced that I was going to publish, I couldn't back down on that. So I had to get the work done. I had to push it over the edge. So it was twofold. It was me getting out of the way so the team could do what they do best, and me also proving to myself that I could keep a promise to myself.
So a lot of folks, a lot of business owners and starters and founder owners are thinking about writing a book somewhere along in their career. You thought about it for some period of time, and was it the things you're describing? I really wanted to do something and hold myself to it. What finally triggered it after 16 years?
Well, the exact moment, I was on a vacation, a long weekend, and on the beach, walking with my friend, chatting about life as we do. And she had heard me talking about this book and the concepts in the book, and she stopped me and she grabbed me by the shoulders and she said, "You have to do this now," with such conviction. And I was like, "Well, okay, I have to do this now." And almost like I felt ashamed that I kept talking about it and not taking action. And so that was in January. I came back and I enrolled in the course at the end of January, and I started. So,
Wow. So, what's your advice to CEOs that are contemplating whether or not they should spend that amazing amount of time to go get a project like this done?
well, I think if it's something that you want to do, then you'll find a way to make it happen, just like we find a way to make everything happen. So if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way. And there's never going to be a perfect time. It's not going to be easy, but writing a book, it's not, I don't want to say it's not going to be easy. It's not hard. Writing a book is not hard. It's all about time management. It's setting the time on your calendar, sitting down and getting the words out and doing the hard work. So I'm not building rockets over here. I'm not saving the world with with this book. I just took the time to make it happen.
My partner Art and I have written the Growth Gears, and we really enjoyed the journey we've been on, both crafting the book and what it's meant to our business afterwards. For us, what it helped do is even further crystallize the things that were so fundamental to what we believed drove growth and drives growth, and especially in mid-sized companies. Did you go through that as well as you're writing the book? Did it help further commit yourself or get further clarity on even your business itself?
Yeah, I don't think that there's anything like writing that makes you so clearly understand the internal words that sometimes you have to really take time and be in a really quiet place to hear. So there's something magical that happens when we put pen to paper and we spend the time writing. And I think the biggest thing that comes out of that is clarity. I think that, to be honest, when I started writing, I wasn't completely sure what direction the book was going to take. And so that was really interesting to just trust the journey and trust that the book would unfold. And the other thing that really struck me business wise was just a moment of, I don't know if it's celebration, but just recognizing all of the people all of the experiences that had got me to that point. At that point, the company was, 16. We published when we were 17. And when you're so in it, you don't realize how in it you are. Does that make sense? Sometimes you have to step out of it to see how deep you are.
Okay. All right. I get that.
Something like that.
Yeah. And has the book been helpful for the business? Has it been a promotional piece in a sense?
Yeah, the book has been great for brand awareness, brand recognition, also for my own leadership development and personal brand development. I've been busier since publish. I worked with a great book marketing firm, and they got me a lot of press. And so there was a lot of articles, a lot of podcasts, a lot of webinars. I still speak. I love professional speaking, so I still have that opportunity. And one of my favorite things that I've discovered is I love moderating panels. It's one of my new favorite things, and I never would have discovered that had I not gone through this journey. So yeah, so it's opened new opportunities for me also.
Wow. Have you been able to stay out of the chili of your team? As it you kept busy enough that I'm maybe not at 20 hours a week, or maybe so?
No, I still get in the way. I still get in the way, and then I mess everything up, and they're like, "Ingrid, just get out of the way. Just
Are they
stop."
encouraging you to write the next book then?
Yeah, maybe afterwards they'd be like, "Would you go do something else?"
Wow.
Yeah, no, I have a fabulous team, but I do tell them in the interview process that the biggest hurdle they'll face is probably me.
So how would you describe your team's, I'm going to get a little personal, but how would you describe their loyalty, and what have you learned about, you have a pretty tight team running a pretty large global operation. So what have you learned, and what can you share about assembling that team and how to keep them together?
Everything that I've learned um, about developing a team, I've learned from my team itself by listening and watching and learning. And I am humbled every day by the incredible people that I have on my team, their leadership skills, their management skills, the way that they lead and support each other is something out of in my wildest dreams, something that I don't have the skills to do everything that they do. So hiring really smart staff that are super passionate about the work that they do and that truly align with our core values. I know a lot of people talk about that, and we talk about it as well, but it is a really, really essential part of our team because we are so small and because we are remote and we are global. We spend a lot of time on culture development and making sure that everyone feels heard and that everyone has time, the proper time to communicate their needs.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so it's I learn every single day from my team.
So what's the centerpiece core value in your core values? What's the one that stands out as the one you that gets rallied on?
Well, so my favorite core value, which I don't know if this is the centerpiece, but a core value that I've had from day one is fun. Because I believe that a positive outlook on life naturally creates a more fun and positive experience. And while I recognize that not everything is fun all of the time, I also recognize that my team gives up a huge percentage of their life to work on behalf of me and on behalf of the company. And I would like that to be as fun and as lightning and as challenging and as positive as possible. I've also learned a lot in my writing journey, but besides the writing journey, the power of a positive mindset and a growth mindset. And so I would say that everybody on my team displays those characteristics every single day. But if I were to take fun out of it, Pete, I would say the number one thing is accountability.
Okay.
right? Do what you say you're going to do.
Those don't look like they're in the same pocket though, right?
No, but if you approach your tasks with a positive attitude and you know that they're
Yeah.
for a good reason, then I think it makes those tasks a lot more enjoyable.
So it seems to me there's a big difference between simply a positive. I know people that are positive that aren't necessarily fun. I mean,
Yeah, I'm
at
not
least they're not
saying
a
that.
downer. They're not the Debbie Downer. But what's the difference between a positive attitude and actually having fun?
Well, life is not all fun and games. I'm the first to admit that. But for me, for our organization, underneath this umbrella of fun are things like having a positive attitude and
Mhm.
seeing the glass half full versus half empty, and a growth mindset and a willingness to kind of go with the flow and adjust the sails as necessary, and really just try to embrace the sense of positivity, and especially because I ask people to come to work every day and to work. It's a lot of time. And so we try to infuse moments of fun and celebration. That's the other big piece of fun for us is celebrating our wins,
Yeah.
even if they're small, and recognizing the wins of each individual and the wins of the team. All of that kind of falls under the umbrella of fun. I'm not saying that it's an amusement park coming to work every day.
No, that makes really good sense. Well, you've been doing this for some time. What's next?
What is next? Well, the company, we're still on a growth trajectory. We still have lots of revenue to get and lots of profit to find and lots of clients to bring under our belt. So that will continue. I am launching a little side product, a little project that I've been working on for years, actually, and I'm going to try to push it over the edge. It's a consumer based product
I
that
just
I'm
want to know,
going.
did your friend come up and shake you by the shoulders again, saying, "This is awesome. You got to go do this"?
You know what? They've been telling me since COVID to push it over the edge, and I've been
Okay.
sitting on it.
And I didn't
So
even let you describe it yet, but go ahead.
yeah. Okay. So Wit and Wonders is the product. It's a series of conversation cards based on untranslatable words. And so
Okay. Okay. And this completely floored me. How can a word not be translatable? I don't understand that.
there's so many words that exist in even in English, but in lots of other languages that there's not a direct translation for. And this is not in line with your questions, but this is exactly one of the reasons why AI will never serve as a perfect translation tool. But that aside, there's so many words that take on a bigger meaning that it isn't just one word.
Okay. And I know you have an example.
I do have an example. It's a Japanese word. It's komorbi. And listen to this. It's so beautiful, especially in springtime. I love this word. It's the scattered light that happens when sunlight filters through trees.
Wow.
And there's one word for that, right? In English, we have to say all these words. And in Japanese, there's one word. And that's what I think is so cool because you get to learn so much about different cultures and people and ways of the world, and different ways of thinking and diversity. So that's I've been collecting these words.
It seems to it's an example of even the Japanese culture in some
Yeah.
respects. You know what's important
Yeah.
in that environment. Well,
Yeah.
we only have a couple of minutes, but you did broach the subject, and we have explored it offline. But uh, AI would seem to just absolutely invade your space, and yet maybe not so much as you've started to describe.
Yeah, I mean, AI is everywhere, just like it's not affecting just our industry, it's affecting every industry. I'm taking a very consultative approach. I'm learning every day about AI. It, of course, is changing every day, so there's never ending things to learn. But at best, right now, AI is getting us about 30% accuracy for major languages, and that does not even touch what we call languages of lesser diffusion, so rarer languages. But for our clients, 30% accuracy just simply isn't enough, right? If we're translating instructions for use on a heart valve implant and it's only 30% accurate, well, that's a problem, I would imagine.
I think it's a problem.
I think it's a problem. And there's just so many nuances. There's so many ways that culture impacts language. Language is one of the things that truly makes us human. And if you study language and its ebbs and its flows, I think you'll quickly see that AI serves a purpose. It's great, but it's not there yet.
Yeah. So if you need the real deal, you need to go to INGCO.
Uh-huh.
And Ingrid, congratulations on your business and your book and what you had. I can't wait to get a stack of cards. What'd you say? There's 60 something of them.
Yep, there's about 65.
That'll
Yep.
be fun at parties and
Yeah.
so forth. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm just so thankful that you joined us today. And I know folks have benefited from hearing your stories and your learnings and your passion.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Thank you.
congratulations and thanks for being with us. And thanks,
Thank you for
everybody.
having me.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. And we'll see you next time on CEO Growth Talks. Thanks, everybody.